Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be talking about STEM Renew and how it fits into today's renewal science and research and development. And because it is so on the forefront right now, stem cell therapy. What's happening? What's the whole industry talking about when we talk about the medical system? Stem cells.
Stem cells. Yeah.
And why? Because they work.
And we've been looking for the fountain of youth since Ponce de Leon back in the 1500s.
Absolutely. I know I like getting younger, not older, and that's what we have. We essentially have stem cell therapy in a bottle. When you think about what STEM Renew features, we have something that activates our stem cell production. We have something that releases the stem cells. That's so important because we can produce stem cells, and we do produce stem cells. But if we don't release them from the bone marrow, it doesn't matter, right? Then the other thing is, and this has been really key as far as one of the ingredients that we have, that is activating those stem cells. So when we look at our ingredients and how they are synergistically formulated and brought together, it is quite an amazing formula. So Dr. Chris, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about some of the latest and greatest here with stem cell and STEM Renew.
Oh, thank you, Tina, and welcome everyone. You know, you're just so right. This is a formula that deals with the stem cell system. Nobody ever really has talked about how there's a system of a factory where the stem cells are produced, and then a technology that allows them to be released. And this is all part of the healing and repair mechanism that we think about the immune system. But then the immune system also plays a key role in regenerating. And we're discovering that the part that hasn't been really talked about is that renewal part of the whole regeneration and repair. And the ability to activate those stem cells, which are the fountain of youth of the body, is just profound. And to have it all in one bottle, right? One capsule.
Right, so if they can link it together, when we're talking about the stem cell system, it is the renewal system.
Exactly. We could use them interchangeably. So, you know, how does the body really age, you know, and how old is the body? Well, all of us are always just renewing ourselves. If we weren't, then we wouldn't last very long. But each one of our tissue parts has a different time clock, let's say, for lack of a better term. To give you an example, the stomach lining can reproduce itself in anywhere from 2 to 9 days. And that makes sense because we're always shedding that lining because of the harsh acids and biles that we use to digest our food. So it has to be replenished constantly on a constant basis. Something like our taste buds that we take for granted. You know, you burn your tongue and then after a couple of days it feels better again. That's because it's been replaced. After 7 days we have all new taste buds. So this keeps that sensory input. Because think of it, it's like a computer. That information is coming into the taste buds and is feeding this mega computer about, okay, here's what's coming, and this is what it's made of, and this is how you're going to have to handle it. And,
right, so we have this huge database with this software operating system, and it's constantly sending these signals out to see what's going on in the physical body.
So everyone can kind of just look at the slide and just, it's fascinating to see what it takes to regenerate the different parts of the body. But one of the key things we want to express here is like the skin, the outer layer of the skin, the epidermis, it regenerates anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. And that's referring to a youthful person, someone who's just matured. Their body, you know, is just developed itself, and a person's in their 20s, somewhere between 20 and 25. But then after that, we start to age. We start to break down. So instead of building the body, this is when it starts to be compromised with a limited amount of the signal proteins, a limited amount of the hormones, the enzymes. All these things start to deplete themselves. So you see a change in the dynamic. So let's look at red blood cells. They replace themselves every 4 months. And what that means is that you have 100 million cells that are born every minute to to do this replacement process. And then at the same time, you have 100 million that are destroyed every minute. And
that's to keep it in balance, right?
Exactly. But now, once the body's matured and it starts to experience stress and limitation and deficiencies, all of a sudden the ability to make those 100 million cells every minute isn't there. So maybe you're just making 95 million. While at the same time, you're still losing the 100 million, or maybe even more, because you played football that week and you lost a lot of blood, and
or you hit your head playing football that week. And those of you that know that inside joke, yeah.
So now, like you said, the scales start to get out of balance.
So more stress is what you're saying. So people can have extreme stress, and then all of a sudden that scale can get thrown off.
And that applies to all the organs and tissues. Let's go back to the skin. It regenerates itself every 2 to 3 weeks, but in your 60s, it takes anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks to regenerate itself. So now you're seeing that loss is greater, faster than replenishment and regeneration. So those scales really get out of balance. And this is why the renewal system is so critical to you staying young and vital.
Absolutely. And when you're looking at these days on here, these average days, it's right around, your early to mid 20s that you're looking at what this cellular renewal cycle reflects here.
So anyone after 20, you want to keep that cycle young. You get on Stem Renew.
Right. And actually, you can take, so just to give you an example, I'm going to back this up. So Dr. Chris was talking about your 60-year-old skin now takes 10 to 12 weeks. However, you can shorten that timeline by activating that stem cell system / renewal system, and you can actually start to bring that back down and, to a 3-week or a 4-week or a 5-week even.
And we've seen that over and over again. People recovering from surgeries, individuals are seeing their skin regenerate and renew and get more plump because the collagen is built underneath and the cells are replaced much faster. So it's not something that's just theory. We've seen it in firsthand.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about this magic and how does it happen. Well, here's this picture of a cell, and before this cell becomes mature, it was a primitive stem cell. It was a cell that was in a primitive state before it was called upon to mature and be fully functional. And what you need to know is that this cell is an incredible entity. It's like the lowest common denominator in the body, but it's such the key component to make up your tissue, which make up your organs, which make up your system, and that's who you are. But it determines how you make energy, it determines how you interface with life. So, our bodies are phenomenal, and the reason they're phenomenal is because it's a composition of this incredible orchestration of organs and tissues and cells that make up this incredible being. So over the years, we've learned to nourish ourselves. What kind of nutrition, what are the best foods, what are the best supplements required? And now we're learning not to just nourish, but we're also learning how to regenerate these cells, how to make them brand new again. So let's talk a little bit about how that happens. When it goes from a primitive cell or a stem cell, the stem cell has the ability to differentiate or become any other kind of cell. It can change into muscle, bone, fat, blood, whatever it is directed to do. And that direction happens by these signal molecules. And guess where you get signal molecules? In Stem Renew. So this primitive cell has the ability to reduce inflammation, to change into other types of tissue. And one of the fascinating components of a stem cell is it also regenerates and replicates itself. So you have a cell that goes back into the stem cell bank.
It's thank you for bringing that up. A lot of people ask, well, if I use my stem cells, or they're being used to do renewal, aren't I using them all up? And the answer is no. The more you use your stem cells, the more they replicate, and you have more that go into the stem cell pool. So you can call upon that stem cell pool longer and longer and longer. So that's what's so great about Stem Renew, because it activates those stem cells and at the same time puts another one of those stem cells into that stem cell pool or that stem cell bank.
Exactly, and that's why don't we just talk a little bit about the ingredients that do that and how it's designed. So first of all, the stem cell factory that we refer to, where the stem cells are produced, the key component in the body is the large bones, because that's where the bone marrow is. In the bone marrow is where you find these brand new stem cells the body's making all the time. So the factory for these stem cells is the bone, and we are providing one of the most phenomenal ingredients. The marine mineral complex is the only plant-based mineral complex that has been studied specifically for building the bone. So we're not talking about just slowing down the degenerative process. We're talking about reversing and building back bone. As a matter of fact, there's a 1-year and a 7-year study, and the 7-year study showed that there's a 1% increase every year of those 7 years that the bones will rebuild and repair themselves.
So there's a lot of information out there today and issues around osteoporosis and calcium and all these kinds of things, and we want you to know that this marine mineral complex that we use in Stem Renew actually has been proven to help reverse some of those issues that are going on. So this is really also important. Like, let's say you break a bone. What do you want to do? You want to take more of your Stem Renew because you're going to repair that bone faster. You're going to activate those stem cells to do the healing and repair faster. You know, you've got the good calcium with the marine mineral complex that's bioavailable and can be absorbed to help with those bones.
And you said something really key there, Tina. It's 97% absorbable. And your bones are remodeling all the time. What that means, remodeling, is that when the calcium in your blood starts to get too low to nourish the body, then guess where that calcium comes from? It goes to the bones to get that calcium. So it takes the bone, the calcium minerals out of the bone, and the bone tissue starts to degenerate. And then when the calcium comes back into the bloodstream again to fulfill the right amount, then it builds the bone back. So taking the Stem Renew every day supports that remodeling process. So keeping that factory healthy and strong, so the bone marrow is healthy and strong, making those stem cells every day.
And the backup system is there. We have such an incredible body. It's really, it's magical. It's wonderful.
It really is. And the next component is just as remarkable. Our aloe vera is just a concentrate, and it's a powder, but it's close to fresh aloe vera, and actually even more concentrated than if you went in your backyard and cut out a fresh leaf.
It is.
Yes.
It is, because it's highly concentrated, yes.
Yes. So when you look at the studies of fresh aloe vera, and especially the concentrate, you're actually seeing a stimulation of stem cells, referred to as fibroblasts in this case, which were studied, a 200% increase if someone were to take 2 capsules a day of Stem Renew. So here's the release. We've got this production going on in the factories, and we facilitate a 200% release just with 2 capsules, and as much as 300% with 4 capsules. So you see, taking Stem Renew allows the individual to release the fountain of youth from this factory that we're keeping healthy and strong. So let's take a look at once we have all these stem cells available, how do we activate them? Well, this is no small thing, because there's only one natural ingredient that we've ever found that activates the stem cells. And there's a lot of formulas out there that may help release them, but there's only one that we found that activates them, and that's because it requires very specific signals in order to do the activation. This is the cellular communication that Stem Renew provides. This is the communication that hits the surface of the cell, the receptor sites that signal inside the cell to talk to the blueprint, to talk to the genes, and how to regenerate and repair and stimulate activation of regeneration and renewal. So triggering those three processes, the production, the release, and the activation, you have the full spectrum of the stem cell system being, supported and enhanced with taking Stem Renew. So that's all part of the healing process that no one's really even talked about before, because the renewal system it's brand new. We know about the other 11 systems in the body, but who ever taught you about that?
Absolutely. And
it's number 12.
Right, these 12. And so these three ingredients are so synergistically formulated in the right concentration, the right amounts, the absolute synergistic way, energetically, physically, to all work together, so that it really focuses on that 12th system that Dr. Chris is talking about, and that is the stem cell system, that renewal system, and no one else has it.
You've got it. Now, if we tried to talk to the person on the street with all that information, I mean, very few people, they've heard of stem cells, but very few could tell you where they come from and how they're released and how they're activated. So bottom line is that one of the most important messages we can share with the everyday person is that because of the phenomenal results that Stem Renew gives the body, it has been shown to be able to reduce stress. And that's measured by testing the cortisol levels released during stress. And if you can have the stress reduction and it's reflected in the cortisol testing, you show that you have something very special. So when we talk to the layperson, when we talk to our friends and family, and we say, well, what's the big deal with Stem Renew? Why do I need it? Well, do you have stress in your life, right? And everybody can understand that question. And they think about, wow, you have something natural that can help reduce stress. That's where you want to go. And from there, you can help explain what it does as the fountain of youth to renew and regenerate the body. But the key side effect, which happens to be a very good one, it helps you reduce stress.
Absolutely. And we know that, when we have accelerated stress, we accelerate our aging because we break down the collagen, and that is the very, very glue that holds all of our cells together. We hear about it with our skin, but when we start looking at what we need collagen for, we need it also for all of those cells. Okay, it's very important throughout the body. When we have that excess stress, it disrupts our blood sugar, our pH. It increases our oxidative stress. What that means is we just rust from the inside out. And so we need those antioxidants, and we have the antioxidant right in Stem Renew with the EGCG. The other thing that happens is, my goodness, our youth hormones decline very quickly when we have a lot of stress, and we can go into accelerated aging. And this is another thing that helps, that Stem Renew helps, and that is to bring back those hormones, because when cortisols go down, all of the good youth hormones come back up. And then, of course, it also helps to bring down inflammation.
Put out that fire, right?
Put out the fire, absolutely.
So again, this is based on just incredible science, and we've seen the results, and we've heard just such incredible stories. And the major part of the magic of Stem Renew is the composition of these ingredients, but the ingredients have to be of the highest quality, of the highest vibration, of the highest frequency, of the greatest integrity, and processed in the purest form, so we don't destroy the enzymes, we don't destroy the nutrient, all the things that's so important. And this is why we say over and over again, one of our mantras from Tina and I is that ingredients matter. And this is a great slide for all of you to just learn more about how important an ingredient is and some of the ways you can determine if the ingredients are good. And that's because there has to be a purity. They have to meet international standards. And in order to do that, to be processed in the FDA-approved labs. So that means things are tested for heavy metals and PCBs and dioxins, all those environmental toxins you've heard about, and just are so destructive. So we make sure our ingredients are of the purest and highest integrity. Then, of course, freshness, live, living ingredients that haven't been heated or exposed to light or been oxidized. So that's key to having a living component. The potency, and the bioavailability and sustainability. We always get asked about, can our ingredients be available for a long time? Well, they can, because they're harvested from sustainable sources and from species that they're not under threat of extinction. So this is something we're very aware of and pay close attention to and make sure that we deliver on. So ingredients matter. And because of that, we love STEM Renew being with NHT and NHT Global's other products, because for the longest time now, the last 15 years, NHT has been providing these building blocks, these incredible products that have the ingredients the body's looking for to replenish and restore itself. And when you have the architect that directs these building blocks from STEM Renew and combine these formulas, you even have even more of the fountain of youth available to you.
Right, because you talked about 100 million cells being created every day.
That's just in your bloodstream.
Just in the bloodstream, exactly. Don't you want healthy, cells? So think of the good nutrition that you need in order to complement STEM Renew, the omegas you talk about, the Restore, and the Noni, and some of these other fabulous formulas that NHT does provide. So we see that there's incredible synergy between STEM Renew and all of their ingredients. And I just want to do a quick review as well, because you mentioned something that I think everybody needs to hear a couple of times, and that is, when you're talking about STEM Renew, you certainly don't want to get too scientific and too complex. You can always send somebody to one of the webinars or get more information, on the NHT Global website. What you want to do is you want to kind of ask questions and see where people are at. And most everyone, like Dr. Chris was talking about, has stress. You can always ask the question, do you have any stress, and would you like your stress? Would you like to be able to handle your stress better? So that's one way to introduce STEM Renew. And then the other one, when you have somebody that's more into their health and wellness, and they understand, or they're hearing the information, that big buzz out there about stem cells, you can ask them if they would like to have stem cell therapy in a bottle for a lot less than it costs to go have stem cell therapy treatments. So those are two different avenues that you can utilize in order to be able to talk about this incredible product.
Fantastic. Couldn't agree more, Tina. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Chris, and we'll see you next week.